Good night, Sam.
Good night. I'm just checking if my volume is okay. Good night. If anyone can live comments. 15 people. Is everyone out there hearing me? I don't know if somebody can answer me. Michael Gordon here. Are you hearing me okay, sir? Yes, okay, good. All right. All right, so tonight our guest speaker is Mr. Miller, but he has not signed on as yet. Waiting on him to sign in.
Loud and clear.
Loud and clear. Thank you, sir.
Where is this ascended master?
Where are you, Mr. Master? Which parish?
Pamela Bauscher is this is Michael from Mandeville.
Okay.
Mm-hmm. Remember him?
Mm-hmm. All right. Florida. Okay, welcome. All right. Yes. Good evening. Thank you.
New business.
New business, yes.
Very easy though.
I hope we're pronouncing the names correctly.
Let me get there.
Hi, David. Good for you to be here. Mr. Simpson, good evening. So we're going to give it another 5 minutes and then we'll start, and hopefully hopefully Mr. Miller will get on by then. David Edwards, hi, thank you for what you're doing. Thank you, sir.
David Edwards.
I just said his thing. Okay, sir.
Good evening. Bridget Simpson, good evening. Agro Oasis Limited.
Good evening.
Jamaica, that is in Jamaica. Good evening, Vivian Bermuda.
Bermuda.
Good evening, Vivian. Where Mr. Miller?
We're waiting on him. I don't know if he's having challenges in logging on.
Let's get him on. Let's get him on. Send it to from my WhatsApp.
It's on from link WhatsApp. All right. So I've been watching you for a long time. I need a goat farm. Okay, David. Anything is possible. Turn the AC.
Get him warm.
So I'm going to wait another 4 minutes and then we'll get started. Tika Simit, goat and sheep. And so, Tika, hi, how are you? Andrew, good evening. So, I think Mr. Miller is having some challenge. Hey, Tika, good to see you here. Um, Registration. I see you asking about it. There are some shortcomings here, and this is something that I have to address. I'm going to try my best to modernize this part of it because some of it is manual and I want to fully digitize it. So I'm going to work on that. By next year, I hope to have something very good. The Parchment, good night. I think the SRG should be working with the Ministry of Agriculture to move the sector forward. Okay. We do work with the Ministry of Agriculture, and we do stuff with RAD and all the different government entities.
You need to turn on your camera.
So
Yeah, camera.
So my wife is trying to help Mr. Miller to log on. Yes, I see his name coming up here now.
You need to open your camera. I can see that you turn on your.
Okay. All right. Mr. Miller, good night, Mr. Miller. You're having a little issue with the technology tonight, but that's fine. I have help. So, good night, everyone. We're going to start here now. And I'm going to just say a small little prayer. Dear Heavenly Father, please bless all the farmers that are online and all guide this podcast that we're having here tonight. And I hope a lot of people will become blessed by what we are doing. Thank you. Amen. All right. So, Mr. Miller, welcome. Mr. Miller, I'm not hearing you. No, it's something. It's muted. I'm not hearing you.
Mic is.
Are you hearing me now?
Yes, hearing you now. Hearing you now.
Okay. All right.
All right. Yes.
Thanks for
Good
having
night.
me, sir.
Yes. Good night, sir. So tonight we are going to talk about anything that the viewers and so forth want to talk about, but with specific emphasis. So, Mr. Miller, I don't know if you want to just give an overview of yourself. A little small overview.
A small spin. All right, sir. So I've been raising goat for a long time. My interest was piqued by a cousin of mine who gave me $2 to take care back in the 70s. And after that, he bought a female for both of us. And that's where I got interested in rearing goats. So I've been doing it for quite a while. Got out, got back in. Now reside overseas. So I just come to Jamaica every chance I get. So, but I'm doing it mobile, not underground all the time. So
okay, all right.
that's where my love of it came in.
Right. And you know, the irony of it is that I just met Mr. Miller, what, maybe 3 years now?
Yes,
Something
sir.
like that. Right.
Something
And
like
we used to
that.
rear goat in the same kind of neighborhoods in Kingston, very close by. So, you know, we used to just let out the goats in those days, and they used to just go and feed in the bushes. There were a lot of bushes around at the time. And then we also have, you know, scraps that we got for them, you know, different feed, you know, waste products that we used to feed our animals with in those days. But I can tell you, Mr. Miller, I don't know about you, but the knowledge I have now, you know, all the different diseases and the different things, we weren't concerned about those things when we were much younger. And, you know,
For
exactly.
sure.
Yeah.
I've never trimmed a goat hoof back in those days.
Yeah,
We have
neither
the
me.
goats them let out and
Yes.
they just roam around and the hoof got trimmed down on the road and stuff like that, and the rocks they walk on.
Right. And even the treatments and all these things, I didn't even know about worm in goat and those kind of things. Were you dealing with those kind of things back then? Because I never did.
Yeah, so if you see a goat that has the hair was fuzzy and stuff like that, we used to use like sour orange and rub
Hmm.
juice it and wash them with it. Kind of
Okay.
how you used to clean up the hair if it wasn't in good condition.
Right. There was a lot of old time remedies that we used to use.
Yeah,
For
give them
example,
some single Bible and stuff like that.
yes, and the noni and the other one there, the cactus one. What's the name again? Noni. And I don't remember the name of that plant. We used to use that. And also ufrat. We used to put engine oil on their foot, you know, like between the hoof if we had foot rot problems. So those were the days. And now I guess we have learned so much more. There's so much more technology, so much more things I guess we have learned. And now we are even better goat farmers, I would say. And we're trying to teach everybody and, you know, share some of the knowledge. Now, one
Thanks
of
to
the things,
technology.
you wouldn't say new
Thanks to
technology.
modern
Oh,
technology. So back in the days when we were rearing goat in the 80s and 90s, we had to go when we wanted to sell goat, we had to go down to North Street to the cleaner on a Thursday by 1 o'clock, put the ads in for it to come into the Sunday paper in the animal section. And that's where I met a lot of people, like Mr. Roxborough, um, Mr. Cooper, Mr. Finley, that guy who used to be in Treasure Beach, because they had ads in the paper and you call them up. Mr. Brown, Dicky, all of those kind of people, you know, from
right.
back in the days.
So one question here. What advice do you have for people rearing goats overseas, from overseas? So you're talking the
Um,
goats. I think they're talking about the goats that, you know, you have imported to the country. What advice do you?
no, no, I think they're talking how do you do it? How do you manage it from overseas? Kind of. I think that's probably
Okay.
what they're talking about. So
Mhm.
for me, I have a bunch of cameras. So anywhere on my property is I could, if I choose to, I can hear you, I can see you. The minute somebody roll up to my gate, I could see the person. You know what I'm saying? So there's no hiding around the bush because if you don't have the cameras, they'll tell you this is done and that is done, and when it's not done. You know what I'm saying? So just a bunch of cameras has to be all over the place when you want to do it from overseas when you're not on the ground.
All right. So there's a question here. Is the government facility in St. Elizabeth? I don't think it's serving its purpose. I recently spoke to the minister when we were at that seminar in Kenda, at the conference center recently. And he says that they are renovating the facility and a lot of changes are going to happen at that facility. It's going to be in the new financial year. So we are waiting to see what is going to happen. And yes, the facility is a little dormant, I would say, but they are planning to make some changes there. So I look forward to seeing those changes as they happen. It's a very nice facility because I've been there a few times, you know. They have dairy, they have water on the land, they have fodder banks, They have everything there for a really proper, you know, goat rearing facility. I see. Do you still have red Boer buck that I saw in your video recently? The one with the spots on his side. And what about the Nubians? I don't know if that's for me or for Mr.
For you.
For me. Yeah, I have some goats still, yes, and Nubians.
Him ask directly to that red Boer.
Yes, I have kids there and so forth. Yes. Was there any?
Going down.
Okay.
From Nigeria.
Nigeria, yeah. So,
Good evening, everybody. Yeah, right.
One of the things, Mr. Miller, that I wanted for us to talk about is, good evening, Gigi. I wanted to talk about infrastructure. This is one of the things that which Mr. Miller is an expert on, because he actually does construction for a living, or renovation of houses and things like that. Now, one of the things that I see a lot is that a lot of people are building pens and just rest them on building blocks. I wanted you to comment and, you know, give your opinion on that.
All right. So not just building a pen and resting them on building block. I think first foremost, when you want to build a pen, site selection is the most important thing.
Yes.
Then you do your layout. Once you do your site selection, you have to prepare that site. You don't want to wait until after you build the pen. Then you have to go underneath it to prepare it, to level it out, make sure there's no hill and gully inside of it, make sure it's easy to clean. Then you really want to dig proper footing. A footing needs to be 2 feet by 2 feet by 2 feet deep. And then you want to pour that with concrete. However you build the pile that you want to sit the wood on is up to you. You could use a piece of zinc, you could wrap it, you could pour the concrete on top of that pad you have at the same time before it's dry. You could also use a bucket. Cut the bucket bottom off, cut it into, use a binding wire to tie it back and build that pile that you need to have it to sit the post to sit on. Because the last thing you want to do is have the wood touching the dirt. People put it inside.
One of the things, though, Mr. Miller, that's a very important point. The wood should not touch the ground.
You shouldn't plant it in the ground.
You shouldn't plant the wood directly in the ground. You should concrete the wood in the ground and don't allow the wood to be exposed to moisture or water, or else it rattens that post very fast. And remember the story about the yam hill, Mr. Miller, and your father planting the post. Tell them that story.
Like every year when we plant yam, we'd use a yam stick to for the vine to grow on. But come next year, that yam stick, you'd have to pull it up and cut the bottom off, because the bottom would be all rotten. If you use it 2 years in a row, it's gonna fall somewhere in the second year. So you really want to cut it off and replant it again. And again, Mr. Bernard, about the post in the ground, you don't want to plant it in the concrete either. It should not moisture. The concrete is gonna wick moisture into it, and the post is gonna suck it up, and it's gonna rotten the post just the same. So you really want to sit it on top. Yes, the concrete is porous.
The water will come up in the concrete.
Right. And the thing about wood, even if you're gonna sit it on top of the post, you want a barrier between the post and the concrete. So you could even use something as simple as the flash band they use on the roof and just tape it on the bottom. Because if you look at it, at the end of the wood is where it actually with the water inside, where the water it moisture enter it. Not so much the side, but under the bottom. So you really want to stop that water from being able to soak into it. So the wood wouldn't rot out after a while. And then just have something, if you want to leave a steel up where you could fasten the wood again on it, so you fasten it onto the concrete itself, that keep us a strong wind, it would not move or anything like that.
Right. And you know, the building blocks, the reason why we say don't just rest the pen on building block, because this is a common practice that I see with people are saying they're professionals doing it. Because we saw a barrel the other day and we saw roofs, we saw a pen blow away, I saw a hose top come off. And that will happen. The wind will push this pen and turn it right over. Another thing to also
Right.
note is that, yeah,
If you're
is
gonna
that
use building, you can use building block in it, but what you want to do is to dig that foundation, set the blocks in it, and then pour concrete inside
right?
of it. So you
But
just
what
don't
they
want it
do,
sitting on there like that.
right? That is what they do, Mr. Miller. They just use the block as a leveling tool, and the pennies just sit. Those posts are just on top of the building block, which is not safe. And one of the things also with the wood is that wood is very, very strong. It's very strong, and you have to take care of it.
Much stronger than concrete, sir. For
It is.
all those 200-year-old buildings I've worked on, it's all wood. I've never
Right.
worked on a 200-year-old concrete structure. It's porous, it's gonna start rotting in the bricks and start shelling up and stuff like that. But the wood, once it's not wet, the wood is gonna last forever. You
All
can't
right.
outlive the wood if it's not wet.
We're going to go back again, but I just want to answer some of these questions before, so we don't get lost.
From Top Guns,
Yeah.
Arkansas, US, checking it in. Very interested in silage. What are you storing in it, if that is a method of feeding?
All right. What is the question? It's very interesting in silage. Okay. Oh, yes, very interested in silage. What are they storing it in, if that is a method of feeding? We are going to have Dr. Denny back on the program. We're going to concentrate on silage when she come back. But just quickly, both Mr. Miller and I do very similar with silage. Mr. Miller, just tell them how you do silage. Simple.
All right, so I harvest the grass, bushes, shrubs too. Allow it to quail for a day, depending on the weather, and then chaff it up, mix it with the molasses. I like to add some minerals to it at the same time. Compact it into the barrel, and then just seal the barrel, and then let it sit there. So most time, that's what I'm feeding. You know what I'm saying? Silage. Just sometimes help is hard to come by to do as much as I need to do.
And the important thing about the silage method that he just described, which is the similar way that I do it, is that the container, you're trying to starve the forages from oxygen. No oxygen, an anaerobic process, and you are starving it of oxygen. There are some farmers who bore a hole in the bottom of the drum. No, it's going to spoil it. You don't want any oxygen, any air at all to reach it. I usually overfill my drum a little bit and put a stone on top of it, and then it usually shrinks, and I seal it. I usually use a drum bag also in it, and then tie the top of it and so forth, because you don't want to allow any moisture or any oxygen. You want to starve it from air. But simply put, that's how we do it. The next question is
from Mr. Ayudeli. Some goats may not favor the
Baccaria grass hybrid, yes.
Such as mulatto 2. Given this, would it be more strategic to prioritize cultivating local forage options like
cowpeas and
peanut leaves?
Right. Yes. So the other day, when we have our seminar at the Kendall seminar at the conference center, this was one of the things that was spoken about. In some areas, it is best to use the native fodders that are there, because different soil condition, different environments, different things affect it, different weather. I think at the time they were talking about a particular fodder, and they plant it and it would never grow in that particular area that they were trying to grow it. So these are some of the things that might happen. So it's always, you have to really pay close attention to the local forages that you have, because these have adapted to your environment and your soil conditions. Mr. Miller, you have any comment?
No, so they're both. I mean, because when the time is rainy, you can harvest any amount of grass you want. So that's the perfect time to make silage. And then when the dry weather comes, because that time you won't be able to find grass and shrubs that easily. So as soon as it starts raining, is the time to start making your silage for the dry time.
Are you able to share any low-cost pen designs you have?
Yes, that was Mr. Miller's, one of the things that it was supposed to happen at the seminar, but The rain and the weather and everything kind of changed the narrative. And Mr. Miller and we're going to come out with some designs and we're going to do that. So Mr. Miller, I had asked him to deal with it for me. So I guess he will have that on board soon. And we'll share it with you as soon as we have it.
Yes, I will certainly put together some low-cost pens where we could use slotted floor pallets, whatever. You know what I'm saying? Whatever fits your need to make the pens.
All right.
From Anthony Da Costa, what kind of
Probiotics
you put in silage?
Well, we are using, simply put it, we are just using them use some, I've seen people put corn in it. I've seen people put Mr. Miller put minerals. So but as I said, Dr. Denny will be here and at some point, and then we can have that discussion.
Okay.
Yeah, but the most important when you're doing the silage, not to just use one grass. So you're going to use a variety of grass plus shrubs. So you'll get a balance in it when you do it like that.
Greetings. I would like to ask you a question. I will proceed. Could you elaborate on full-blood Boer in the island?
It has been said.
It has been said that there's no full-blood Boer goat in Jamaica. Hence, you need to import them. However, many goats here in Jamaica bear more characteristics to the original South African Boers than the ones that are being imported from the USA under the name full-bred Boer. Could you kindly elaborate? I'm going to start, and then Mr. Miller is going to give his point. So the word full-bred Boer, it means that this goat came from the original stock. It means that you did record keeping from South Africa right up until now, and they have paper trail and paperwork for those animals that came from South Africa. However it came, whether by embryo or whatever, that's what we call a full bred. Not a full bred, full blood. The purebred now is when we breed up, generally speaking. So if you have a full bred ram and a purebred, it is always going to be purebred. If you have a native goat and you breed, and the offsprings, you breed it up 5 or 6 times. So every offspring that come, you put a full bred to it, and you keep doing that. I think it's about the 5th or the 6th offspring, it becomes a full bred. So it is about 99% or some 99% that it reaches, and they call it full bred. Some people call 97, some people call 90, some people call 80 and 87 purebred. So, different jurisdictions have different things. So that's the differentiation between full bred and purebred. Mr. Miller, address the situation about the imported goats versus South Africa.
All right. So in terms of the American standard for full blood versus a purebred, it's pretty much, if you have the paperworks, like I'm sitting here, I'll have a paperworks for a full blood, right? And it shows you the generation all the way down, up and where it's coming from. Not that we don't have any of those on the island, but we did not keep record of them. So you could not register them as full blood if you haven't had the record and kept over the years. So most time that's all the different cities where you don't have the paperwork for the animals. And so then therefore they cannot be registered. If you can't trace them back to those the generation they're coming from, then you can't have them registered as a full blood. Versus
do you have a copy of
the purebred
do you have a copy of that certificate? You can look up at the camera, so we can see what the full bred certificate looks like. So so
this is what it would look like.
Yes.
You see what I'm saying?
So
it will show you the generation, who is the breeder, all of that.
No, too close. Go back. All
right. So let me show you one that like I have personally for a registered animal that I have registered, right? And it will see here that I'm the farmer, the owner, which is Miller's Boer Goat Farm, then here you will see that I'm the breeder. Versus this one, you will see that I'm not the breeder on it. You know what I'm saying? So,
Right.
so this is where this came from the original owner. It will show you all the lineage coming down from the great grandparents coming all the way down to the that the animal came from. And that's the difference that it makes in terms of full blood versus purebred. Because some people just don't have the paperwork and they just put them in the purebred class. And the next thing I see people do all the time is if it fits the category purebred, somebody would have a registered animal and just don't register it because don't continue to register the lineage because it doesn't fit the full blood lineage. It more fit the meat goat in terms of purebred or a percentage. And they would just enter it in the class like that in terms of show purposes.
So therefore, if you bought a full-bred male and a full-bred female, and you don't have the paperwork and the lineage paper or any of that documentation, then and it's not ready, then you can't be calling it a full-bred anymore because you don't those offspring.
A full blood, Mr. Bernard, a full bred.
Full blood. They are not being registered, so it is not recognized. The last question of that same question is, they are asking why the goats in America look so much different from the ones in South Africa. And I will make one comment. This is an opinion of mine. When I look at the goats that are being produced in America from these full-bred lines, and I look at the goats coming out of South Africa, what I see is that America seems, when America take on anything, they go all out on it. They spend money on it, and they, through selective breeding and, all those techniques, and they try to get the best out of what they have. And it just seems to me that the American Boer goats, they have done a lot more work on it, it seems to me, than what I see in South Africa. That's just my opinion. But Mr. Miller, what is your opinion?
I would agree with that, Mr. Bernard. I know because they originated from South Africa, people think that the South African ones are better. But in terms of the amount of work the people in the US have done, right now, a lot of the goats originally came from South Africa and also Australia. Now, since earlier this year, last year, Australia is starting to take back embryos from the USA in terms of colored goats, dapples, to bring back to Australia to enter the colored market. So the US had done a lot more work than some of the other countries. And so I think they're much more advanced than the other countries. Because if you look at the prices goats are going for in the US, I've seen goats sell for 60-something thousand US, 50-something, 40, easy, all the time. I've not watched the South African one like that to know, but I don't think they're selling for those kind of prices. I've seen female for $35,000, $45,000. I don't see the South African one doing the same thing.
Right. And I think the major thing that has changed is that really and truly, even in America, it seems like the colored Boer is everything now. I think it is
taken off.
The traditional. Yeah, it's really taken off. And as you said a while ago, other countries like Australia and so forth are now, getting that gene pool back into their country because so much work has been done on the Boer goat. All right, so I think we have talked about that. What's the next question?
JB Farm, good evening.
Good evening.
Okay, David Edwards, are there any goat farmer in Mandeville who could help me to start goat farm? I live in the US and I have a home in Spur Tree. I am eager to start.
All right.
I need a mentor.
You might not know, but Mr. Miller is from Mandeville. So you can ask him for his advice and so forth because he's actually in Mandeville. And you see, before you start a goat farm or you start any of this, you need to come to Jamaica, visit a few farms, take a look at it, and then make sure you have to come. You have to come and see what we have here, see how far we have gone, see some of the forages, see how we feed them, see everything, and then you make a decision how, when, and what you want to do. But we are always here to help, you know. You can always call us.
From Mr. Ayodele, what are the lessons you have learned importing pure blood animals from overseas? What should you look out for?
So I think Mr. Miller is good at this. So I think most of what we have imported is full bred or pure bred. But what
Blood,
Full
full
blood,
blood,
full blood.
full blood, right, and pure blood.
Mhm.
Yes, go ahead,
Full
Mr. What
blood,
are the
sir.
lessons you have learned? I have learned some, but I'll give you this one first.
A whole heap of lessons. Because I see people still doing it. We actually buy goats in auctions. We buy them off farms. And to be honest, I've seen goat that I purchased, and when I see it live in person, very disappointed. Um,
Yes,
so I don't know. There's nothing better than you could actually see the goat for yourself, look at it in person, and then make a
correct.
determination. Because when it comes to pictures and videos, and they're always gonna dock those pictures, they're always gonna dock those videos. And what you see and what you get, two different things at times. I've gotten
Mr.
some
Mr.
very good
Miller,
ones. I've got some basic ones.
one of the things, Mr. Miller, is that back in those days, when you look and see what they used to do, they use starch and spray,
Mm-hmm.
on the hair and
Mm-hmm.
spray on the legs and make the
Mm-hmm.
hair stand up on the back legs. And they have special way of grooming them. So it looks like
Mm-hmm.
that animal have a lot of meat, on them. And it looks so perfect in the pictures, but you cannot buy these things based on pictures. It's a big risk. Very, very big risk when you
Yeah,
buy
but
quotes of the pictures.
yeah,
And guess
yeah.
what?
So
That's how I have done it. I have done it off pictures, but as you know, they are risking doing it because you have gotten
Mhm.
some bad goats and I have gotten some bad goats too. Yeah, go ahead,
Yeah, and
Mr.
the ones, I mean, it's just a matter of when you look at them on videos and pictures, when you see them in person, sometimes it's a little bit different from what you actually was looking at. So it's not the
Right.
same. And you
And
and
then
that's why I find to myself buying at the auction, you have the option of buying the best if your money can stretch to that where it ends up. So I like to buy them at the auction because when you buy them on farm, nobody's gonna sell you the best animal on farm. But if you have the money, you could go to auction and you could buy the best goat in that auction come when the auction day. So on the farm, you'll never get the same thing. People gonna
and
sell you the basic because nobody's gonna sell you a $4,000 goat on the farm and knowing that he could send it to the auction and he probably get 10,000 off of that goat. You're not gonna sell it. You know what I'm saying?
right. And you see, the next problem is that which we have seen so many of it in Jamaica here, is that, and I have been victim to, is that you have dishonest people, dishonorable people, and that is also a part of it that you get involved with. So you have to see what you're buying. Next question.
From Ayodele, are you able to partner with the partners in Nigeria in the creation of small ruminants registry?
What a question. What is that? Are you able to partner with partners in Nigeria in creating a small ruminants registry? Anything is possible. That's the most I can say. That thought has never come by, but yes, anything is possible.
Okay, that's the same question.
Same question. Because
Nathan
we
Rab, good evening.
good evening. We are goat farmers and we are all, we like to talk to the whole world and share our experience and exchange ideas always.
All right, from Mr. Edwards, how can I get in touch with Mr. Miller when I
Come.
come to Jamaica next month?
All right. You can DM me. I don't know if Mr. Miller want to show anything online.
Yeah, I could give them a number and it doesn't matter to me.
Go ahead,
My
Mr. Miller.
my WhatsApp number is 646-207-5067.
All
So
right.
that's 646-207-5067.
All right.
All right, greetings from
Sorry, Mr.
Houston.
Bernard.
Greetings, everyone.
I'm listening. Go ahead.
I
Yeah.
would like to go back to the topic of housing. If one is to use old utility poles for the footing of the housing, should it be concrete also?
Well, I would say that it is best too, because even utility poles rotten in the ground after a time. And the thing with a goat pen is that the ground tend to be always wet because of the urine and all that. So I think that, yes, it is always best to use concrete. But Mr. Miller, what you have to say? Using light
So
poles.
utility pole is actually treated, so it's soaked into oil for a long time, so it will outlast a regular wood. So if you're gonna use utility pole, I would still say go ahead and concrete it, but you would get away with not concrete it because it's gonna last much longer because it's soaked into oil for a very long time, and so it's
Naturally.
not gonna rot the same way as normal wood would rot.
All right. All right. So it is based on paperwork and not genetics characteristic. However, the original food Boer from South Africa in 1900 came about through an agreement between farmers to selectively breed for particular characteristics. So in actuality, the definition of full Boer is based on selected characteristics. Another question, any update on creating a Boer registry on the island, creating a standard similar to the ABGR so genetics can be traced and a local standard be created? The answer to that is yes, the government is doing that. And we have been told, the government things are usually slow, but I think that registry will happen because it is far gone.
Marlon really.
What is the price for box? Box can vary anywhere from, I guess, whatever people sell it by 20,000, maybe up to 500, $1 million. Goats prices is all over the place.
Yeah.
All right, from
And it all
What a
depends
great
on quality. It depends on
quality.
quality. Quality goats are not cheap. Cheap goats are not quality goats. So it depends on the quality.
Breed type matters though also, Mr. Miller, because if you have a native, also that that matters. The question a while ago about the fuzzy hair.
Okay, Anthony.
What caused fuzzy hair on the goats, Mr. Miller?
Most
When the
likely is it a mite or lice. And also, when the goat is lacking in nutrition, it's gonna show on the goat coat here. So I would give that goat some mineral. I'll wash the goat, and you'll see it changes back to nice and shiny here.
It's usually nutrition, usually
Nutrition,
nutrition
yes.
and parasites, external
And
parasites,
parasite, yeah.
internal parasites, those
In
kind of.
parasite, yeah, too. So some mineral goes up far away with along with the drenching the goat.
What are the regulations on importing goats directly from South Africa, specifically the registered farmers of the SRD? All right, so my answer to this is that has to come from the veterinarian division in Jamaica. But the thing is, though, to import from South Africa, there's this animal cruelty rules and so forth, and you cannot ship goats on ship just like that. They are asking things like to fly them on an airplane. So I think to make that happen, you would have to probably fly them on a private jet from South Africa. Come here. Can you imagine how expensive that might be? So
Mr. Bernard, for what I learned, right? From what I learned, they have even the US have not brought goat from South Africa for a long time because of foot and mouth. That's what they're saying is the reason why they don't allow the goats from South Africa. They don't import goats from South Africa again. And so that would not meet the veterinary criteria for bringing goats if they have that kind of disease over there.
Right.
From Ayodele, what are the best practice for artificial insemination? Should we be investing in nitrogen tanks? Should we use hormones to stimulate heat indoors?
All right. If your farm is big enough, you can invest in anything you want to invest in. But I would also like to say that at the Bodles Research Station, they have a huge nitrogen tank facility there that can store semen, and Small Ruminants Association have access to it. In other words, we can ask for it to be stored there, and some arrangements can be made. Mr. Miller, what is the best practice for artificial insemination? Go ahead. You have anything to say, Mr. Miller?
Not really, not the expert on that. We have to speak to the
Neither
people
me.
who do it,
Yeah,
does it. Because
yeah,
what I realized, I've done it in the past and I've gotten three out of five, I've gotten 5 out of 5. So it's basically following the protocol that they set up when they do it for you and just follow it to the T. I think you'll see better success rate when you do that.
yeah. No more questions?
That's it.
All right, so we don't have any more questions right now, so we're waiting on more questions. Yeah, one of the things is in Jamaica, our AI program, it was very successful with 1 and 2 farmers, but most farmers it wasn't so successful. And I don't think I've heard the real reason why it is not so successful here. And we are also indulging in embryo transplant and things like that. So Jamaica is doing a lot of stuff, and we're going to start seeing success as we learn and move along with this industry.
I think what I think, Mr. Bernard, about that though, is the care of the animal then.
Yes.
Up to doing the AI and after the AI. So
Right.
I think if we follow what they set out for us to do with the animal before and after, we'll see a better success rate.
Right. Like flushing the animal, make sure it's in good condition. When the AI process is done, you should keep the animal, in an isolated area, to make sure, you have to pamper that animal through that AI process. That's definitely so.
Quantum farm. If I identify a particular farm or specific goat in the US, what is the purpose to get the particular animal in the island?
Big question, Mr. Miller. Are you that?
Well, if you're talking about one goat.
Yeah, they're talking about I think this question is talking about the procedure in the United States or whichever country you're shipping it from.
All right. So
if I identify a particular, so you find a farm in the USA and you have this, you buy this goat, and what is the purpose and how you're going to get it to the island? So it's not about what happens in Jamaica, but what happens over there.
Right. All right. So you pretty much is gonna have to find somebody who is gonna bring in goats and ride on that person permit, because you can't bring in the one goat like that by yourself. You'd have to have a permit to do it. So if you're gonna come on a person who has a permit already, you'll have to get it to the quarantine facility in the US. The consignor who is shipping the goat has a quarantine facility that is approved for quarantine the animals. He has to run all the tests. So they have to be there for 28 years at least. You run all the tests, and after getting back all the results, then USDA would sign off on it. They send it over to the VSD. They'll sign off on it, and the goat then would be able to ship after that. But it's a vigorous process you have to follow. It's not just identifying the goat and ship the goat to Jamaica. It has to do all the tests and retests and do deworming and all of that before
it's a very
intense
process. It's a precise science, and the experts know what they are doing, so.
Nathan, Rob, with all this new genetics, AI, and importation, what is the best way to navigate the industry?
Wow. You know what that question is asking, Mr. Miller? I don't know. Maybe I would say with the genetics part of it and so forth, you have to make sure, I guess, that you trust the farmers you're getting the stuff from, and and with AI and importation, you have to follow the trail, follow the paperwork, and know what you're getting into and what you're buying into. You have any comment, Mr. Miller?
Yes, so because of all this input, we're gonna have better quality animals. So we're gonna have to do more selection. We're gonna have to cull more, because the quality of the animals is gonna be much better compared to before. So that's why it's gonna boil down to that. We're just gonna have to do some more culling and keep the best ones.
Agroasis, is the plastic floor still available? Yes, plastic slotted floor is available in Jamaica, and Well, I import. I'm one of the persons who import plastic slotted floor in Jamaica, so you can contact my company for that. How
Nathan.
do we stay ahead in the industry? Well, we just said some of those things are staying ahead. Make sure, the ram is half of your herd. You have to make sure that the rams that you are using is very, very, very good quality. I think that's one of the main thing that we have to pay attention to. Your ram must be always the best there is, and what you can afford also. Yes, Mr. Miller, any comment?
Mm, yeah, I think we're only gonna get better as we go along, but can we just get some more unity in the thing where we could work together instead of this all this fighting all the time to make it better overall? Because my intention is that we bought all these goods from the US. I want them to look at goods that we produce in Jamaica and want to buy them back too. But we're
Right.
only gonna do that if we start working together with each other and stop some of the fighting that's going on.
All right. So, Mr. Miller, this is you now, making a goat house.
Mhm.
Here is a question to Mr. Miller. What is the ideal way of making a goat house? From my understanding, it's probably not recommended to put the post on blocks, and why? We spoke about that already, but we'll go over it again, sir. Go ahead.
I I said you're sitting it on blocks. You want to make sure the blocks are concrete down to the ground. So you have to have a foundation for it to be sitting on. The blocks, you have to fill the pockets, push a piece of steel in it, fill the pockets up with concrete, not just have it sitting down on the ground like that. Fasten the post to that base you have that you created. And go from there. The first thing when doing a goat house is the first and foremost thing you need to do is site selection. You have to identify where you're gonna have your goat house and then prepare the site because you want to make sure you have runoff where the water doesn't sit or the pee doesn't sit underneath the goat pen itself. So you really want to have it on a slope, not a level ground, because then it's gonna get muddy after a while. It's gonna get ammonia. It's gonna build up inside, and it's gonna make the goat sick. So you really want to select the best place, the sloppiest place you have, if you have a flat surface for making a pen, and not just make a pen anywhere you choose to
So
make
you
it,
have
but
good water
select your
drainer.
site.
The
Yeah,
water
make sure. Yeah,
must drain off quickly.
and that's why I don't recommend a hip roof on a goat house, because if you do it like this, one set of the water is running on the top side and one is running on the bottom side. I'd recommend a shed roof where all the water runs to the bottom side, so there's no water that's passing under the house itself to keep the house wet when the rain falls. Because even if you gutter it, gutter overflows when the rain comes too heavy, and so if it's on the top side of the house, it's gonna still have water running underneath the goat pen. And one main thing what we need to do, since we're in the hurricane prone areas, we must use hurricane straps on those rafters where we nail the zinc on. Because you don't
And
want the storm to come and all of it is gone.
what is the ideal way to making a goat house? Now that's a big question. I think we are going to we need to have some models and some drawings, Mr. Miller. So that is one of Mr. Miller's
Yeah,
projects that we have spoken
I will.
about. I don't know if you want to make a comment on that.
I will. I will. So if you take a look at this, right? If you could see in the middle, you have some big pens for adult penning. Around the exterior of it, you see you have some kidding pen, some 5x4, 5x5, where you isolate the mother that's pregnant and gonna have babies in those pens, and then later on you could bring them back to the general population pen after that. But then you really want to do separation when you're building a goat pens for like the mothers who are going to be kidding, because you really want to feed them differently. Let's say a month to go, 6 weeks to go, you really want to feed them differently from your general herd. So if you could isolate them in the pen, they're gonna kill in and just start feeding them a little bit more nutritious food. That would give you a better result in terms of when they're kidding. You don't have a pregnancy toxemia issue at that time if you do that.
And you know what I like to do, Mr. Miller? I like to have families together. So if I have a daughter, you know, or 2 or 3 daughters with a mother. I like keeping families together like that. You don't get the fighting and the
Fighting.
aggression.
Yeah.
Like 2
Yeah, I feel
sisters,
that.
or, you know, the sisters and the children together. So if you have a big area, like suppose you have a 10 by 10, I like putting the families together in that 10 by 10 if I was going to have all of them together, because fighting is a real issue. And, you know, I have seen horns boring through, you know, boring in the stomach, and some severe injuries happen to goats, broken foot, many injuries. So you have to watch out for that fighting also. All right, next
And,
question.
and the next thing on it, Mr. Bernard, is to have all them babies grow together. So you don't have
Right,
some of the issues if you have them grow together. So you have
right.
all of
You
them
don't get the
creep feeding in
fighting.
the same space and think they used to the one and they play with each other and they grow up together.
Right.
So you have a less
You know,
aggression to each other that way.
you know, even rams, if you have, say you have a dozen rams and you grow all of those rams together, they don't tend to fight. They only play
No.
fight, but not
Right.
serious
Yeah.
fight. But if you take that one of those ram out of that pen for a week or a month or sometime or just a couple of days, and you try to introduce him back in there, is war inside that pen.
Crazy.
They go
Yeah.
crazy.
Yeah.
You can't separate them any at all.
All right, from Brown Boss. What are some of the costs for a goat to lose their kid early into their gestation cycle?
I'll start with the fighting. Fighting is one of them, and they buck them, and you have abortions. I think that's one of the main thing. And I'm going to touch on another one. Yes, stress is another one. Like I would tell you, like if you have a dog there jumping at the goats and frightening them, and, you know, making them tense. And the next one I'm just going to name one more, and then Mr. Miller can go up. The next one is the rat problem. Leptospirosis, right? Leptospirosis. If you have rats walking up and down in the feeding or in the pen or anything like that, leptospirosis can affect the goats, and it will cause abortions in the kids. Mr. Miller, you can add to that.
When you have learned.
Yes, I don't think I can add anything to that, but definitely that rat issue is one of the main issue for those abortion in goats. And then up your mineral game. You know, if you go, the healthier your goat is,
Nutrition. Yes, nutrition.
is the most your goat, more your goats will be able to deal with issues like those. You know what I'm saying? So just up your mineral game and then avoid the rats in the pen. It's hard to deal with, but you just have to keep setting that poison for them.
Comfort, you know, make the goats comfortable, you know, good infrastructure, you know, and things like that. The more comfortable the animals are, the more productive they become. What are some of...
From Winston Cross, is the facilities for AI where is such noise, so much noise to bring a live animal, which is why more expensive?
So I don't know if you necessarily need a facility, but I do know that the Hounslow facility in St. Elizabeth was set up, and you know, to do AI. But remember, AI is a process, and I'm not an expert on AI, neither is Mr. Miller, but I have seen AI being done successfully in the goat pen. It's just that you have to, you know, have special care, and, you know, they have a stand that they do the AI process on when they come to your farm. They put the goat on the stand and they do the AI process and so forth. So it's just the care. Mr. Miller, anything you want to add?
Goats tend to easily get stressed out. So if you're gonna do AI on goats, I'd rather do them on farm if you can, versus have them travel and then travel back. Because the success rate is gonna be way less than if you just do them on the farm. Because they're very easily stressed out. You couldn't move a goat from one pen to the other pen and the goat comes under stress. She's stressed out. So you really want to just keep them in the natural environment where they are, do what you're doing there, and keep them in the same location versus traveling back and forth.
Comfort is very important. Yes, the comfort of the animals. What's
the process of import semen or ovary eggs from the US, particularly a farm of my choosing?
This is a question for the, you know, the veterinarian division changes the rules sometimes.
Bring somebody.
And, you know, you know, they have guidelines. In other words, you just go and say, I want to bring whatever you want to bring, and they have a document, and you just read that document and make sure you meet the requirements. That's the best way I can answer that. Good evening.
It actually has to be collected. Those semen has to be collected in a certified place,
Right.
before you can
Right.
bring it in. They just don't let you just go and buy it anywhere and just buy it. Yeah,
Right.
it has a requirement for that.
Right. Good evening, Mr. Bernard. The last time you were selling out some goats, were those goats purebred? I have sold so many goats and sell out so many goats that I've sold out purebred goats. I've sold out graded goats. I've sold out native goats. I've sold goats so many times in my life. Next.
Quantum Farm. So yours said if a local farmer has a registered full blood, there is a process in Jamaica to officially register the offspring. Let's say I buy an offspring from your imported full blood.
Go ahead, Mr. Miller. You.
Also, all right. So you have to join. Since we don't have a register now, what we do, the people who import goats, and a lot of the guys go ahead and do it. We join the ABGA. They don't stop you that because you're living in Jamaica from joining it. So if you buy goats here, you can join the ABGA and you could have those goats registered in the ABGA. When the kids are born, you could go ahead and re-register the kids them too back into the ABGA. So that's how I end up maintaining a registered set of goats in terms of registering the kids that's born on the ground in Jamaica back into the ABGA registry. So yeah, you could just join. You have to join it. You have to pay for the registration. You have to pay for your membership for the year and keep registering the goats and that born on the ground.
So you're basically registering them back in Jamaica. That's what you're basically doing. I'm registering back in the
You're
USA.
registering back in the US. Yes,
USA,
yes. They
right.
maintain them in the registry in the USA.
And follow it up.
And you still have the paperwork.
How long does the plastic floor cost? And to do a 8x8 plastic floor. So you have to get back to me and I will let you know. They said that the plastic slotted floors will last like 15, 20 years. And pricing and all that, we can do that around 10.
So I have plastic floor for the last 5 years, so it's still going.
Right.
Who knows?
And the wooden floor, I mean, you have wooden floor that lasts 1 year, 2 year, and the chichi and so forth, you have it maybe lasting 5 years. So it's not consistent, And I remember Mr. Miller telling me he ripped out all of his wooden floor and put in most of it is now plastic slotted floors. And one of the things he found was that a lot of the wood, even though it didn't show it, but they were being eaten away. You can comment on it, Mr. Miller.
Yeah, man. So once you take it apart, on the underside, you realize that the chichi had gone through it and ripped up a lot of it. I had a wood floor for like a year plus, and I had to be changing out flooring every now and then because it was rotting underneath, which without you noticing on the top, under the bottom was all rotten out because of the chichi. See, I guess if you have wood, you have to maintain it in terms of spraying it to get the insect to not eating it.
And underneath it, mainly because underneath the chichi attacks it.
Yeah, they will just come from the ground.
The top looks good, and the board just break and drop through. Yes.
Yeah. So you have to actually.
Go ahead, Mr. Miller.
Go ahead. No, go ahead, Mr. Bernard.
Do we have to use slotted floor for those full bred or purebred, or can we train or able to adapt them to natural outdoor here in Jamaica whilst ensuring that they are in the you can rear goats. I mean, goats are goats. You can rear them outside. You can, it's just that you have to make sure that you have to make sure that the health of the animal is kept up and make sure you don't have them walking up and down in water and mud. Goats don't like water. You have to, and you have to make sure that they are not in their feces, like sleeping in their feces and living in their feces and so forth. Any comment, Mr. Miller?
Yeah, well, I've never gone to a farm in the US and see slotted floor. So all these goats where they came from doesn't have slatted floor. They live in a barn, but they're underground on concrete with bedding or on dirt and bedding. So yeah, goats are easily adapting to any condition. So they don't have to be. It's just that sanitation is better on the slatted floor versus on the ground. It's not
And
that you have to have them on slatted floor.
right. The thing is, though, is that with the slatted floor, so you can pack more density. And also in the USA, when you use they use bedding and concrete and on the dirt, as you
Yeah.
said. But one of the things there, remember the cold climate. When the time get very cold, they don't really have a heavy parasite burden, in the cold weather. So it is that the environment and the tropical, all the different tropical, diseases or so forth is different over there. So they kind of have a different environment and how they do it.
All right, from Mr. Gordon, as you said about the unity, do you think coming together to purchase a buck for multiple farms is a good idea, even though one buck is to serve a specific amount of those?
Well, anything can work. I mean, I know I've known as farmers who share the buck, or two farmers buy a buck and they're both using it together. I've seen a lot of that happening here in Jamaica. So as long as you and that person can work out a deal and work together, I think it's fine.
If you notice the bloodlines on these goats in the US, you'll see that the top bucks, a lot of other farms use them too. Whether they get straw from the original owner or they rent the buck or something like that. A lot of other farms have the same genetics as their friends. So I mean, you could always pool together, buy a buck, and just have an understanding, because that's the basic thing. What you need to do is just have an understanding of how you're gonna share the buck. You know what I'm saying? Because the thing is, breeding season is like, it's seasonal. So if you have one buck, then you have to know how to share it between both people or among a bunch of people at the same time.
Is there a breeding program you would recommend to have sustainable flock without bringing in outside blood? I'm not sure what you think, Miss. I'm not sure of the question.
Yeah,
Is there
well,
a
I
breeding
guess
program you would recommend to have sustainable flock without bringing in outside blood? Answer that, Mr.
yeah, well,
I don't know.
you're just gonna have to have several bucks and you do that. What you wanna
Right.
have, you have a closed herd, so you're not bringing any buck inside, because you're not gonna put a buck to a female and then those offspring you're gonna put it back to the same buck. So you'd have to have multiple bucks to do that. As I say it all the time, when big farmers does it, they say it's line breeding. But when small farmers does it, it says inbreeding. Nothing says you can't put back a buck that's related to a female to the female. But that's what we call line breeding. So you actually
And
could do that,
also,
but you don't want to put a brother and a sister from the same mother, same father. You don't want to put it from a different female, just as it splits up the genetics a little bit.
and also, remember, you can keep a closed herd. If I hope I'm correct in saying this, you can keep a closed herd and use AI. And I think it would still be called a closed herd. Would that be correct to say that, Mr. Miller?
Yes, because once you're not bringing it inside,
Alive, right?
outside,
Live,
outside,
right.
from outside back into the
And
farm, then
I think maybe even embryo too, but I'm not an expert on that, but that's what I think. Yeah.
From Kendra
you just don't. And once you're not bringing any animal from outside, regardless of
Live
a
animals,
closed herd.
live animals,
Yeah.
yes.
From Kendra Charles. Good night, everyone. Why don't goat farmers crossbred native with foreign breeds to create a more hardy and high performance breed?
That is being done. I
They do
mean,
that.
yeah, it's been done. I
They
mean,
do that.
that's been done all the time.
I have graded still now that came from native.
Right.
So I put them first to a Nubian, and then I put them to the Boer, and those are much bigger than even the full blood ones.
Because of the hybrid vigor.
Yeah, hybrid vigor. The hybrid vigor is gonna let the graded goat grow faster than the full blood.
From Anthony DeCosta, where can get forage plants to buy mulberry or bread nut?
All right, bread nut is a wild thing that I say. I don't really see anybody selling bread nut, but mulberry, you just get the cuttings and plant it,
The
and
stick.
Easy to catch.
yes, it's easy to catch. How do
I
you
have a bunch
manage?
of stick to myself
Mhm.
if somebody wants some stick that I cut down the other day.
Right.
So yeah.
Okay. How do you manage
Tyrants.
what is TYE rats? What is that? TY. I don't know what is TYE rats.
Rats. Chelsea, best.
Go.
Are they
I mean, you just have to set the poison, keep setting poison for them. So make sure the
or
goat
have a
trough has no feed that night.
Yeah, that's
And make
true. You
sure
don't
you
want
don't
to
have it
leave feed
dropping.
in the yeah.
And then when you're feeding the feed, make sure you're not making droppings from the feed. Because what you're doing is technically feeding them and encourage them. So if you make less droppings, then you could actually set the poison and they'll eat it more versus have all this feeding on the ground. They don't have to eat the poison. So even if you set the poison, sometimes they won't eat it because they have the feed to eat.
Mr. Iodelia, would you recommend a specific breed of dog for use on a farm? Are Rottweilers too aggressive to serve as farm dogs, and do they pose a potential risk to goat?
Right, Mr.
So I don't think any dog, you could use any dog you choose to, because I think you should also protect the goats
Miller
from the
is.
So
dog.
we'll have lots of
Mm.
Yeah, so you should protect them from
Yeah,
the
I
dogs.
have used. You have some dogs that have good temperament with goats, and you have some that
Mhm.
don't. And so I have seen mongrel dog, I've seen Rottweiler, many different breeds. I mean, in America, I say they have specific guard dogs for animals, but here in Jamaica, I have seen, which one I said, Doberman Pinscher, that long spout dog. I have seen, I see a guy up in the hills, and that dog goes straight to the top of the hill and bring the goats come down in the evening. So many different breeds can do the job. You just have to train them from puppy.
Yeah, grow them
And I have Rottweiler, Mr. Bernard. That would, if a mother have kid, she will help to clean those kids
Clean.
up. And
Correct.
she'll
Correct.
protect those kids. No other
Correct.
dogs could even come close to the kids. She
Correct.
will clean those
Correct.
kids up, make sure they stay around the
Yes.
mother. As I had a kid that fell out the pen one night, and the Rottweiler dog was just laying there with the kid all night until morning, till somebody come and pick the kid up. She was
Right.
protecting them from the other dogs to make sure no other dogs could come near to them, to
Right.
the kid.
And rats too. That's another thing. Even
Yeah,
rats
yeah,
will bite up
yeah,
those kids if the mother is not around.
yeah,
Rats will bite off the ears, bite off the nose,
yeah.
you know.
And depends on the dog. You know what I'm saying? Different dogs just have different temperament. I remember
True.
dogs are pack animals. So when the dogs individually won't attack the goat, if all of them is out, they might just get crazy. If one start, the rest of them will follow too. You know what I'm saying? So you have to always protect them from the goats. If you
from
have a bunch
Odin.
of them out there.
Good night. I have a question. What kind of worm medicine can be given to pregnant goats?
All right, Mr. Miller, you can answer that one. I know ivermectin
Mm.
is one of them.
And then
Um,
Panacure
mhm.
is one. You don't want to do Valvazen. So you want to do a Panacure and when the goats are pregnant.
From
And
Bentley.
it's not necessary that you can't give them the certain dewormer. It depends on when you give it to them. Because in the first trimester, you don't want to give them certain wormer because they lose the kid. They'll have a miscarriage then. Later on, it still will be okay if you do it. But since I'm not a vet, I don't want to do it. I'm talking about I do myself.
Instructions and the recommendations from your vet, and the instructions usually tell you, what you can do and what you cannot do. So follow those instructions.
Okay, from Bentley. Semen has to be collected at USDA approved facility.
Oh, next. Mhm.
Okay. Agroaces. Could semen be imported from Africa or from those Asian countries?
I am not sure. The veterinarian division would have to answer that question. I know that I see that have imported semen from, I think, Australia and New Zealand. I've never really heard of anybody taking it from South Africa, but our VSD could probably say that.
From Lennox, good evening. What is your opinion on Boer versus Savannah? Does one have an advantage in Jamaica's climate?
These goats are basically from a tropical type environment. So I have not seen the Savannah. I don't think we have Savannah here in Jamaica. I'm not sure. I haven't seen it personally. But I think any one of them will adapt quite easily in Jamaica. The Boer adapt. So I don't see why the Savannah wouldn't adapt. Next question.
All right, Quantum Farm. Elaborate on the registration process and how far off the offspring.
Mr. Miller?
I mean, once you register, you are a member of the ABGA, and you have got to have kids from two full blood parent, the buck plus the female. You could register those kids.
Okay.
And if you're not the owner of the buck, then you have to get the paperwork from the owner of the buck in order to register them. You can't register them unless you own both animals. So you have to have them in your ABGA membership. If you are the owner of the buck and the female, you have to have them in your ABGA to register the offspring. Else you'll have to get the paperwork from the owner of the buck if you don't own the buck in order to do it.
So
registration.
Why is it so expensive? Young farmers wouldn't be able to buy them. I don't know what that means.
Is the Boer talking?
Probably the Boer. Okay.
Okay, Quantum Farm. Do you rent or use your champion Boer for servicing, and what is it? What is the cost? Also, general costs for shipment, quarantine, and processing.
All right. I would not recommend anyone to rent their animals and, for servicing and so forth. And the reason for this is the transmission of diseases and other sickness. I mean, the ram, the female, your ram could be very healthy and, catch some form of disease or whatever from the female, or it could be the other way around. The ram could have a sickness. You rent that ram and you serve maybe 10 or 15 females in the pen, and everybody gets sick and you lose animals. And the general cost of shipment, quarantine, and the process. You can make a comment on that, Mr.
It all depends, because depends on where you purchase the animals. Then you have to actually pay to transport them to the facility where they're going to be quarantined in the US. So that could actually drive your costs up. Because I have paid as much as $800 to transport a goat to the facility. Depends on where you purchase the goat from. So it could be as low as $200 up to $800 for a goat. Depends. So that would add to your costs. General cost, I would say, is about, depends on how long before shipment you purchase the goat. Probably $1,700 to $2,000. Because they have to do a daily feed cost on the goats when the goats are in quarantine too. So that adds to it.
Okay, from Mr. Brown. Do you think we are putting more preference on hybrid over our local Jamaican native goats?
I would say no. Remember, we live in a free society, so people buy what they want to buy and, rear what they want to rear. And I see a lot of emphasis on local goats. I see a lot of emphasis on the hybrid goat. I think it's, I think it's everywhere. What do you think, Mr. Miller?
It's all about your circle, where you are. You know what I'm saying? So somebody who has local goat, most likely is not going to make the investment to buy a 500, 600,000 Boer goat. The person who is going to do that most likely is the person who has some quality graded or some purebreds who will be able to sell some of their own just to make the switch from one goat to the next goat. So, I mean, teach his own. You know what I'm saying? If I had to do goat all over again, a lot of the things that I did, I wouldn't do it the same way. Because we don't have a lot of land space. I'd never plant grass if I had to do goats over again. I would plant corn, I'll plant peanut, and I use those trash to make silage for the goats. And in that way, I'll be able to sell the corn, I'll be able to sell the peanut and get an income from that too. So you have an acre of land, you're gonna plant grass for goats, and all your income is coming from is the goats. If you do corn, if you do peanut, if you do cowpeas, you have an income coming from that. That will be able to offset your costs of running your goat operation. So you can not just look into the goat operation for the income. But that's just me how I would do it if I had to do it again. But I don't know. Each his own.
Mr. Miller, number is running across the screen, so you can see it there. It is there, and we will endeavor to send that diagram or some of those diagrams on the WhatsApp communities. So we'll get that will be out there.
Brand Tamika, good night. Good night. What is the basic cost of a 20 by 20 goat house from Bridget?
Bridget, that can change because lumber and all the different prices are always changing. But I don't know if we can give you a figure on that, but that's something we certainly could work out. Mr. Miller, you have any cost what you would even want to throw?
I don't have a costing now, but I'll definitely go ahead and do a
right.
costing on some of those and the
Instant
sizes of
price.
house.
Once the dog is trained or grow with the goats, there's no problem.
Any dog.
The same thing we said. We agree with you.
All right, Marlon, what age would you introduce supplement to a newborn kid?
You have your creep feeder there all the time. They usually start munching on the forages and munch on things, and they usually just do it by themselves. Mr. Miller.
I would say from as soon as the goat comes out, that's when I start. Because I use Nutrigen 4 ml, 4 ml as soon as the kid is dry out. So that kid gets up and nurse much more quickly than if you doesn't give him a start. So I would just start right away. And in 2 weeks' time, it's gonna start nibble and creep feed and stuff like that.
All right, alfalfa seeds in Jamaica. I guess you can import it. I don't know if anyone sells that, but you can import that online, I'm sure. Which farm store in Jamaica sells goat semen? No, the feed mills, like our 2 feed mills, have semen basically that you can buy. Next. Over your many years of experience, what is the biggest challenge you have encountered in goat farming? How did you overcome it? Why there's so many big challenges.
Yeah.
So many
I
big challenges.
I would say workers. You know what I'm saying? The goat is one thing, but workers is the biggest challenge we have. And guess what? As soon as you train a worker and they are where you want them to be, they disappear. Because you have all these people who come to your farm claiming they want goats to buy, and all they're coming to do is to steal your workers. You know what I'm saying? So I don't know. I think that's my biggest challenge. Every day, a person who comes to look at goat is offering workers a job. You know what I'm saying? As if they don't see they have a job where they're at.
So there's a chronic problem in Jamaica, right now. All industries cover across Jamaica. We do not have workers. There's a shortage of people in Jamaica who are working. I think one of the things that I've noticed is that everybody has become a boss. So I think we are almost to the point where we're almost like the United States now, where everybody in the United States now, they have to bring in Mexicans and other workers to do the work. And I think we are at that stage in Jamaica. I think we have to bring in a lot of workers into this country, because in every industry we cannot find people to work. It's a big problem in Jamaica.
And even when you find people to work, Mr. Bernard, they don't come to work, they come for collect your money and leave. They're not there to work for their money. They would come and want us to sit all day and leave when evening come. And they get paid on Friday, and they don't care about the work itself.
From H. Moses, Savannah is more resistant to parasite. Always said if I'm gonna import, I would I would a Savannah buck.
I don't know if I'm going to agree with that because I have had Boer goats that are very, very resistant to parasites. Many of my goats are resistant to parasites. And, sometimes you have 1 and 2 goat that you have problems and you should call them. I mean,
I think the best goats in terms of parasite is the Kikos. The research has shown that Kikos are the most hardest goats out there in terms of parasite
parasite
resistance. So
resistance.
yeah, I think it's not the Savannah,
And
but the
our
Kikos.
native goats too, yeah.
And it's basically like our native goat, the Kikos.
Constant line.
Constant line inbreeding of a close herd is not recommended as the lead to genetic defects down the line. Agree. Next.
Marvin Stewart, local goat meat and mutton cater to two different markets because of pricing. Goat meat can't compete with mutton on cost. Why are people even trying to compete in the imported mutton market locally?
All right. So I just want to make sure, differentiate that goat meat is Chevron and mutton is sheep meat.
Mhm.
Goat meat cannot compete with mutton on cost.
Importedly.
Well,
Well,
so
that is pretty much what he said, Mr. Bernard. They can't compete with the importation of goat meat. And that's a fact. We cannot compete with it because we can't ask farmers to produce goat meat to sell at $800 a pound as the imported meat can sell at. So there's no way we can compete with that. And you can't ask a family of 4 to buy a pound of local for $1,600 when you can buy 2 pound of imported meat. So it's a delicacy and it's a strike a balance. You know what I'm saying the demand is out there. We can't fulfill the demand anyway, but we can't ask local farmers to compete with that. There's no way we could compete with that.
yeah,
800 a pound
the
importation
feeding
meat.
costs and all the costs
Yeah,
is
we
so
can't.
high.
Just can't do it.
You are not allowed to import seeds without a permit. Okay. Yes. Everything that you're importing in terms of live, plants and so forth. Yes. Fish, everything. Yes.
Mhm.
Cost of your plastic flooring, size of each, and pellet machine. Yeah, you can contact me. You can contact me.
Marvin Stewart.
Correct. Okay. All right. I don't see any more questions here now. One of the things is that we had come on here tonight to talk about infrastructure and how to build a goat pen. And just before Mr. Miller leaves, we have been here 1.5 hours now. Is there anything else you
That's how
want to
long.
add? Yes, it's actually 8:29 now. Yeah, is there anything else you
Mm.
want to add to infrastructure? Any tips or anything else
Yeah,
to infrastructure?
I am tired to see flooring where all the joints are at the same place on the flooring. That's what you call a weak joint. If you were laying blocks and you stack each of them on top of each other, that wall will just collapse. What you're setting up yourself for is that your floor could actually snap right there where all those joints are the same place. You need to stagger the joints so they don't stop at the same. All the joints are not at the same place. And as I said earlier, hurricane strap is a must. Whatever you do, make sure you put some hurricane strap on. And the
Yeah.
common mistake I see in terms of nailing on the zinc, wherever the zinc is lapped, is 2 laps the zinc lap, 2 seams laps together, those joints, right? You need to double nail all of those lap joints. You don't need to single nail it. And I see common mistake that 90% of the roof I looked at has single nail at the way the zinc laps. And you don't need to nail it to 2 places, side by side right there. Just for extra strength, because if the wind gets underneath it, it's gonna tear the zinc off.
I also want to also make mention in the goat pen that is a very good idea, and that is the horning, Mr. Miller. When you put a sort of
Yes.
horning underneath the zinc, it's very
Mm-hmm.
important. But let's describe what a horning
Stop.
is within the pen and explain it to the
Alright.
viewers.
After when you build your pen, it's it's a very good thing to put an awning right around it, which you have a 45-degree angle zinc that sits around the outside of the pen, underneath the roof itself, at the side of the housing, at the side of the pen. So when the rain blows, it doesn't blow inside. So you want to make that awning right around. And if you can't afford to make it right around, you want to look where your rain comes from and do it. Because it's either gonna come from east, west, north, or south. So then just look and see the direction your rain come from all the time and make sure that side you have horning for it so the rain doesn't come in.
So what
As I
I
say, it's a
do is
simple
that
45 degrees that you frame underneath the zinc itself and have it sticks out so that the rain can't blow inside the house.
so on my pen, my awning, the zincs are I think about 3 or 4 feet long. Those zincs, and you
Yeah.
set them, as you see, Mr. Miller say, you set them under the roof, under the infrastructure. So really and truly, the sun is not hitting the awning directly, right? And then you don't have to make it touch the top of the roof. You can have even a 1 foot space between it, right? And
Yeah,
then
where you
whenever
really
it
want to have a space so the ventilation, the wind actually could pass
ventilation,
through the roof too.
right,
Yeah.
right. And then it just comes right down, almost coming down, and maybe at the tip of it, you might have like maybe 4 feet or 5 feet between the tip to the floor, and that can stop it. And also another thing is you can also use on the side of the pen that a lot of the breeze blow in the water. You can use that shade cloth. What do you call that shade cloth that you use for? You can use shade
Yeah,
cloth.
so we use it for privacy fence. Where you put on the chain link fence. If you pass construction site that has chain link fence, you see it's around. It's like it's a
Shade cloth, I
screen.
think.
And what it yeah, and what
Shade.
it is, it doesn't allow the rain to come through it. Barry came, my house was totally dry because it has it around it. It hits it and the water go down on the ground. It doesn't come through it. And it stopped that wind from coming in. So at night we put it up, in the daytime we draw it like a curtain because it has some eyelids in it where you can actually run a string through it, draw it as a curtain in the daytime. You could draw it to one side, and at night you close it back. So at night they don't get that extra wind blowing on them in the nighttime.
All right, so that's very important. The horning, having the horning in the pen, stopping the breeze from blowing in the water and allowing the fresh air to come in and so forth. And having automatic water gallon drum, and then I have a smaller 55-gallon drum. But you can expand on it, Mr. Miller, because you do something similar, automatic waters.
Yeah, and the reason why we don't just connect the automatic water directly to the supply line is because you want to be able to put medication in the drum. You want to be able to put vitamin in the drum. And also you'll realize how much water they're consuming for the day. So if I have a 55-gallon drum, it's filled up, and then we turn it off in the morning, add what we need to add to it. By the end of the day, there's no water in it. It's all gone because they keep drinking the water all day and getting rid of it at the same time. So then you really want to have the drum just to make sure you could add your vitamins in it if you choose to. If they have a cold, you could add your cold medicine into it too, so that you just have that to drink all day. Versus have the supply line going straight to the water.
So you are able, right? So it makes managing, when you automate a lot of those kind of things, it made managing your goat pen very, very much easier. All right. The next thing now is that I believe in free choice mineral. We should always have free choice mineral in the pen, and we should have a separate trough just for that. Go ahead, Mr. Expand on that. and the baking soda.
Yeah,
Pre-choice mineral baking.
super important. And I know some of the goat finicky, they don't eat some of the minerals. So find yourself a mineral goat will eat and just make sure they have it all the time. And the mineral after a while, if you put too much out, it get soggy and damp and hard and stuff like that. So I just like to put out a little bit at a time each day. So each day you put out a handful, 2 handful. And if you see they're consuming all of that, then you just add a little extra into that each day to make sure whatever you're putting in, everybody could get some and not just one goat eating all of it.
And when the rats
Super important is the mineral.
When the rats walk in that pen, they usually piss in it too. And once that happens, the goats don't eat it anymore. The goats tend to be very clean animals, and they don't like dirty food and so forth. All right. In terms of trough, where you feed your animals, go ahead, Mr. Miller. Tell them, how you build your troughs, how far off the ground, and so forth.
All right. So my trough. At first, I have a wooden trough in. What I realized with a wooden trough, because I like to feed silage, the moisture in it would actually have make the trough always wet, and then it would have a mold inside the trough. So what I do is start using the plastic pipe, cut it in half, cap the ends.
Like 6-inch pipe,
that's
like 4 or 6-inch. 6-inch pipe?
No. I use an 8 or a 10-inch pipe.
Okay. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So those big industrial water pipe is much thicker. The bigger it is, the thicker it is. So for the 10-inch one, that's gonna be much thicker than the 8-inch one. So I like to use the pipe is to do it because it's much thicker, safer to use for the goats. They can't break it. Cut it in 2 half, put caps at the end of both of them, both ends, and then keep it like 24 inches off the ground. Pretty much is where the standard height I like to keep.
One of the things with the wood, as he's saying, the wood absorb moisture. Sometimes the trough is wet especially if you're in a rain area that have a lot of rainfall, and the troughs end up being damp all the time. It will harbor, different bacteria and so forth, sick animals. And also it's the same thing with the wooden floor, when you use the wooden floor, those floors stay wet and damp. Even when it gets wet or the urine on it, it stays wet. The wood also absorbs the urine, and you get a high smell from the the urea smell is very high. The pen take longer to dry out. The plastic slotted floors dries very easily and a lot more, sanitary. And also the fall through on it is much quicker too. It's much better than wood. You don't have lay up on it as much as the wood. So try, because it's much more hygienic and cleaner with the animals. I don't know if there's any other tips on the facility. The only other thing is the ram pen. You have to make sure that you build that ram pen. Mr. Miller use iron pipe, 2-inch iron pipe to keep in those rams. You want to expand on that?
Yeah, because I've used 2x4 to the partition, and come next morning, both rams are in the same pen. Because if one goat comes and heat and you put buck in one pen and one is on the other side, they're gonna break that wood apart in the nighttime. It's just so crazy that they don't stop until it's all broken and they could go through. So you really want, if it's ram pen, you want to make it as secure as you can. And then the most important thing is to have the post sitting behind the railing that you're gonna put up. So if you have the post like this, the railing must be in front of it. Because when that ram buck onto this railing, the post is there to support it. But if it's on the other side, he's just gonna buck it and the nail is gonna come out, or the screw, wherever you screw to it is gonna come out of it, and they'll be able to get into the other pen anyway. So that's our issue when it comes to ram.
This person said they were referring to the Boer goat. Well, as I said before, I've found Boer goats to be very resilient to parasites. You have some, you know, that I have had Boer goats that I've never wormed before, or, you know, maybe very little worming, if any at all. So you have Boer goats that are, you know, resistant to parasites. And I guess the Savannah is the same, but I don't have the experience to say that.
So I think when it comes to parasite, Mr. Bernard, one thing people are missing is that
Yes.
you cannot let the goat go eat the grass with the dew water on it, because they're gonna be eating the parasite at the same time. And if you go to harvest that grass, people have the tendency to go early in the morning to harvest that grass. What are you doing? Are you not harvesting the worm and bringing it to the goat just the same? So you really don't want to cut that grass. At nighttime, the worm comes up onto the grass because it has the moisture on it. In the daytime, as soon as the sun goes down, they go back down. So if you're feeding goats, you really don't want to have a parasite issue if you're grazing them. You really want to bring them out when it's dry, super dry. I used to let out goats where I let them out from morning until night. And then we start have a problem where the pound truck start picking them up. And the pound truck stop working at 3. So start letting the goats out after the pound truck is gone. They came back in the evening time. They're just as full as if you let them out all day. Because they just walk around, mill around if you let them out all day. They don't need to be outside that long for them to have a full belly. Because they're gonna eat, cut that grass, swallow, and they're gonna come and lay down and bring it up back and chew their cud. So I mean, you just can't have them eating grass with wet grass because they're gonna have worm if you do that.
It's going to
And if
reinfect
you
them.
cut the
It's going to
grass,
reinfect them
yes,
really wrong.
and if you cut the grass, you're doing the same thing if you cut the wet grass for the goats.
Right, correctly. So this person said exactly right. So why not focus on competing with the imported mutton market by raising sheep? All right, you see sheep in Jamaica. Jamaica is goat country. But in my opinion, what I always said, sheep grow faster than goats, generally speaking. And I eat milk. That's one of the things that I love how fast they grow and so forth. But you see, the reality is that Jamaicans have a passion for goat,
Curry
and
goat, manish water.
that's what is
Oh,
our curry goat, right? Even if it's the mutton, I think the curry goat is our national dish, or should. Thank you, gentlemen. Looking forward to meeting you both.
All right.
To the local consumer, mutton is often considered the same as meat. There are people who can actually identify the difference in taste, goat smell that they want in our curry goat. They now even have a product that you put into the meat to give it that ram goat smell. So I think the smell plays a very big role with the ram goat.
Why the Kiko goat is renowned.
For its while the Kiko goat is renowned for its hardiness, the Spanish goat and the Sayuan goat native to the semi-arid region of Africa are also extra. Yes, I would agree with you. Yes. What price range does graded buck normally go for, Mr. Miller? A graded buck can go 60,000, 80,000, 100,000. It matters to quality and size and all of that.
that bungle is not mine, Mr. Bernard. The owner who has it, make his price. If you're comfortable as the buyer with it, then whatever the man wants for his thing, if you are comfortable with it, you pay for it.
Where can,
you know what I'm saying?
Yes, definitely. Where can bulk baking powder be purchased? You can check me on that. Next
Right.
question. From your experience, if we raise sheep locally, can we compete with? No. I don't think we can compete with the. Because remember, that imported mutton that we are buying, it is all mutton, and it's not the same quality. What you buy here in Jamaica is far better quality than the mutton you're buying abroad. Mr. Miller, any comment?
Yeah, because what people thinking that we're actually importing goat meat from the US. No, US is the biggest importer of goat meat, and so because they import goat from Australia, New Zealand, France, places like those. So we don't. What happened to those countries is that they rear a lot of goat, but they don't consume it. So they actually export most of the goat, and they have a lot of range land. Even the US goats, they wouldn't have enough goat to feed their own the US. They can't produce enough. So we just can't produce enough goat meat in Jamaica to satisfy the local market.
Sometimes I sprinkle
maybe down the
malt.
road we can address that.
Yeah, because I think our goat market, I think the last survey was like 700, but I'm sure that number has doubled or more than doubled by now. We need a survey to check and see how much goats we actually have here in Jamaica. Sometimes I sprinkle malt on the board to help with the urine and the wetness. And also white lime, that's the name of that thing, Mr. Miller, white lime,
Yeah.
which is a derivative of the malt. Yeah, it cut down on the urine smell. Next. What does the small ruminants have in the pipeline to encourage goat farmer rearing island-wide, particular goats meat production? Has there been any dialogue about goat meat production? How do we make it profitable? All right. So as you know, we are training. We have our seminars and we are training and we're doing a lot of things in the background. Some things that people don't even know of. But through those training seminars, a lot of people, new people are going in, some are coming out. Even that training seminar we had recently at Kendall, I think almost maybe 95% of the people that came to that training seminar, there was over 160 odd patrons there come to learn about goat rearing and all the different things. And most of the people that were there were new people. And one of the plans that we have is that we are going to start traveling island-wide. We started at Mandeville, and we are going to go to different parishes all over the island and have these training seminars. We're also planning to do some of the milking stuff because milk is a hot item now. So we have a lot of things, coming forward, and we are working hard to grow the industry. We always want more people to come, though, on board to help us.
From Patrick Rockford, the mutton we import is old cull sheep, hence the lower price index, whereas the local goat is costing in region of £1,600 per pound and retail for £2,000 per pound up to £2,400 per pound.
So those mutton that we import in is old cull sheep. So those prices are very, very cheap. And we can't compete with cull animals. If we are to rear sheep,
can we compete? If we can compete to rear sheep,
not with the old meat that we import from the US, because more than likely those sheep meats are also subsidized. I don't think we can compete.
Okay.
But people also want natural food. They want. I have somebody who called me the other day. A lot of calls coming to me, and they said they want to find sheep meat that is grown on grass alone, no bag feeding, goat meat. Those are some of the things that are being asked, and people will pay the price to have that naturally grown animal.
From Jay, I normally see people struggling to sell their sheep.
Well, I don't know what is happening. Some of the butchers are just cutting it up and they're selling goat meat, sheep meat. They're selling it all as meat. Mutton, they say mutton, and we call mutton goat and goat mutton, and it's all the same, I think, in the marketplace right now.
Good night, Casper. All right. Patrick Roxpo, we must also be cognizant of the fact that lambs is very expensive. Why? Because of its delicacy. The price of lamb in the supermarkets will range from 2,700 per pound up to 4,700. Up to 4,000 per pound.
It depends on the cut. And I have seen this. I remember going in a supermarket and seeing those prices on the lamb. And they are actually importing those lambs from abroad. I see it in the big supermarket. So that market is there.
Son, are there any pure Kikos on the island or only crossbreed?
I think the government program did bring in some Kikos. And I know that Crossbreed is here because Semen came to the island. Why
Or
is it?
Dennis Farmer, why is it that Jamaican farmers have to spend so much to make those expensive house to shelter the goats? When will they be able to start making a profit after spending all the money for housing, feed, and the animals? Most goat farmers are struggling to keep afloat.
So Jamaica don't have lands, big land space like other places. And the intensive farming way of rearing goats is the best way, because we can go and cut the forages and feed the animals. And if you have some goats on a piece of land, you don't have proper shelter, you don't have slatted floors, you're going to get sicknesses, illnesses, you're going to get all kind of problems. So this is the reason why the slatted floors and dogs, all that kind of thing. So when you shelter the animals, you are going to save yourself some money from a lot of these things, sicknesses, predators, all different kind of things. And you can see a profit over time. Mr. Miller, anything to add?
I think one of the issues, Mr. Bernard, is farmers who are coming in are seeing farmers who are in it for a while and want to be in the same position as those farmers are. It's a matter of growing. So I personally think when I started, I didn't have a goat house. I had just lean up some zinc when night come. If rain is falling, goat will go underneath it. Then after that, I make an open pen so they could shelter. You have to use goat money to improve what you're doing. I think you could start with the basic, and as you go along, you could sell 2 goat, build a house, sell 3 goat, buy the next goat. You just start somewhere. If you don't have the money to build a pen at first, goats are hardy. They could live outside. You could start somewhere. It's not to want to be where everybody is at the same time, because we can't all get there at the same time. It's a matter of starting somewhere. Where you're comfortable starting, that's where you should start. Not trying to do what you see somebody else is doing. Know your
And
limits and just work with it.
that's right. And you see, one of the things you have to understand, you see, when you have 1 or 2 or 5 goat, maybe 10 goat, maybe even 20 goats, you don't really have these problems like, the parasites. And if you are, have some kind of shelter, simple things, have them on pallets on the ground, you don't really have any problem. What happens is when you start to multiply up now, and you're gone to 50 goats, and you're gone to 100 goats, and when those numbers start to get high on you, this is when the real problem, when you really need the slotted floor, when you really need better infrastructure, automatic waterers, this is when you really start needing those things more. But I mean, when I was young, I had 10, 20, 30 goats. They were just free reigning, and we did very well with it. It wasn't a problem. So, you
Yeah,
have
so
to
right.
learn.
I had to up to 60 goats, and I was just let out every day and go roam and
Right,
come back. You know what I'm saying?
right.
But I mean, it depends. If you have 50, if you started at 10 and you end up with 50, then you sell 20 of them and build yourself a
Really
house.
thought.
Wait,
Right,
what
right.
that money can unbuild. And then build your numbers again, sell some more, buy a purebred if you want, or buy a full blood if you want. It's not to always just go in your pocket and spend money to buy and do these things. You could always use the goats them to improve your facility as you go along.
And
Sell a
use cheap
goat, build a
materials.
pen.
Use cheap
Yeah,
materials. You can chop some sticker bush. You can use,
yeah,
I've even seen bamboo floors. People use bamboo and make slatted floors. Just use what you have in your environment and,
yeah.
sell. And as you say, I've seen a farmer started out with like 4 or 5 goats. They are probably at 100 now. And that's what they did. They keep selling the goats as the numbers go up. And then now they start to have a slatted floor pen. So it takes time. This goat business is not a fast track. It takes time.
It's a ladder,
And
Mr. Bernard. You have to take your time and climb it. You know what
take
I'm
your
saying?
time and climb. Yes, it's
Yes.
not an overnight
Be-
thing.
be- be- Because as you mentioned, the bamboo, that was my first slatted floor. I
Right.
don't like it. I would not suggest to anybody to use bamboo because it's round. The goat's feet always slipping into that lower section of it because it's round. So it's not flat. So I wouldn't recommend it. But that's why I use that first.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? To
And
make the
even
first slatted floor.
and even the other day, Mr. Miller and I was talking, and in some countries they use the bamboo as steel. So when they cast the concrete,
Yeah.
they put bamboo in there and use bamboo as steel. So we can use
Mhm.
some of the products that we have here. You don't have to have an expensive facility. No way. All right, this is a very interesting question. After doing an AI, what breed of goat do you get? Very good question. You know why? Because a lot of people ask me this all the time. Samila, I'm going to give you the opportunity to explain this.
No, depends on the buck you use, the semen you use, and the goat. So if you use a Nubian, you're gonna have a 50%. If you use a Boer, you're gonna have a 50%. But the buck is gonna be 50% the on the newborn kid. But if you had, let's say you had a graded Nubian, which is 50% native, 50% Nubian, and then you use that 100% Boer, then you're gonna still have the native and the Nubian 25-25, and the Boer is gonna be 50%. So depends on what animal you put it to. You could put it to a 50% Nubian Boer goat, and if you put that use a 100 that pure full blood Boer, then you're gonna have 75%, because 25% is gonna come from the mother, the 50% Boer that she is. 25% of that is gonna come from her. 50% is gonna come from the father. The next 25% of the mother, where she has the newborn, 50% newborn is gonna come from. The kid is gonna inherit that. So it depends on what you use on them.
Right. So basically, though, what the understanding is some people believe if you take a full blood ram and put it on on any other goat, could be a half Boer, half Nubian, or native. Some people believe because the father is a full blood, that means the offsprings will be full bred. No, it's not so.
Mm-mm,
The parents matter.
mm-mm,
What the father is and what the mother is, that's how you work out the percentage. How much to do AI?
mm.
I don't know. I think the last is probably about maybe $12,000. They have to use some drugs and different things. That cost can go up and down, you know. I can't answer that.
From Sansan, to me, a better version of our natives. The
Oh,
better.
oh, I don't know what that is.
Okay. Marvin Stewart. I got a quoted for 20 by 40 raised slatted shed at 550 per square feet for labor only. It's crazy. 1.9 million for the shed for everything.
Yeah, and that's one of the reasons with the plastic slatted floor, you don't have that labor cost is very low because it's just like a jigsaw puzzle. You just clip the panels together and put it in. So, you know, it's always good when you understand what's going on. I can't comment whether this is expensive or cheap because I haven't built a goat house in a long time, and we'd have to work out those costs to be able to answer that properly. Go ahead.
1,000 square feet is 555 labor.
Right. And that's the thing with the plastic slotted floor. Anybody can put it together because it just clips together. It's not very complicated. Mr. Miller, when you put that slotted
Mhm.
floor, how long it take you to put, like, I think I see you have a floor there, probably about 40 by 20 or something like that. How long just putting down that
Mm.
floor takes you?
Couple of hours versus if I was using wood, it would take me probably 2 days. A couple
Right.
of hours time is done. And decided for
Right.
way,
So
way
it's much,
faster
much
to do
simpler.
versus putting the wood floor down.
Blind eye post. Pallet boards are
Cost effective
way
way.
of construction. Yes, that is true.
Very, very cost effective.
What do you think goat herd size should be to break even or be profitable with goat meat? 100, 200, 300? I usually, one time I was at 100 and then I ended up at 200. Haven't looked at it recently. Where are you, Mr. Miller? Because your input cost matters, because, for example, I have a
Mhm.
farmer that I just visited in Mandeville. And he told me, he said, I use one bag of feed in a month. That is the grains, right? And he just sends his goats out and feed in the grass. So he probably will break even with two goats because he has no input costs. He's grazing his goat out there on the land. He uses harvested water, so he doesn't have a water bill. So his input cost is very low, and him just have a shed. So And he was one of them who just used some old zinc and lean them up and, have some pallet on the ground. And he bred up to about, I think he went up to close to 100 goats or something like that. And then he sold out a big part of his herd and started to put up a slatted floor plan. So that question, it matters to your input costs, how you're feeding those animals. He feeds his animals exclusively on grazing. Mr. Miller, any comment on that?
Not really. As I say, it depends on your land space. If you have land around you, then if you have 100 goats, you should be making a profit, because if you have land, you don't. You're not. You could be making a profit with 20 goats if you're
That's
not.
correct.
If you don't have the input, it doesn't matter what. It's all about your input. If you have land around you, you're fine. When I used to be in the city raising goat, we never even think about expense in goat, because we just let them out every day. They go
No
eat and
expense. Yeah.
come back, and that was it. So if you have land, then you could have the goats and eat and come back. We don't feed the goats and bag feed them, so you don't have to. If they learn, if you leave them to go and forage for themselves, they will pick the most nutritious food for themselves and just thrive, as well as if you have them penned up and have them on feed.
And look very good too, shiny
And
and
you
pretty.
go drive through
And another
drive through
thing
the
that
city and look at the Kingston goat them. The Kingston goat them look much better than the country goat them. They walk and they eat all kind of crapsies, and that's it. And they eat the people in rose bush down and stuff like that, and they do very well. So
and
it don't have to
also,
be on feed.
you have to also remember now about the milk side of it now. If you look at the price of goat milk, which is in high demand at this time, you could have 20 or 30 females milking and make very, very good profit out of it. If you have, you don't need 100 goat to make, even feeding them on bag feeding and so forth, because the milk is so expensive. You can have a small amount of goats, good milking animals, and make good money out of it. So that's another side of it, is the value added.
All right. Quantum
And what it is, Mr. Bernard, with those kind of stuff like that, it's a lot of work. Don't underestimate it. If you have 20 goats to milk every morning, that's a lot of work to milk them twice a day. It's not
and
easy
I recommend the women will be very ideal for doing the milking side of things, and because they are nurturers, and that is their forte. They're very good with milking and doing the byproducts of the milk. Can AI offspring be registered
with the ABGA?
Go ahead, Mr. Miller. Can AI offspring be registered with the ABGA? I'm not sure. I don't know.
It should be able to. You just have to get the paperwork for the buck that he used the semen from, and you have to own the female. Then.
This person said they did a 10 by 30 for 90K with 2 by 4 costing the most, but damaged 2 by 4 with, then split them and in half and get more. Got cheap scraps of basket and wood cat in Kingston with free pallets, 2 years now, strong still. So you see, there are economical ways of doing it. And this person for 90K, they built a 10 by 30. So that's what we are saying, there are economical way. You don't have to look like everybody else. You have to be just practical and work with what you have. So I know that what you are saying is true. Yes.
And then for pallet, Mr. Bernard, the pallets is very, very strong. 90% of the pallets are not made with softwood, they make with hardwood. Most of them, if you look at them, you see that it's oak. So those pallets would last a very, very long time. So if you can get pallet, very easy way to do it.
And you have good pallet and bad pallet too, because you have some softwood pallet,
you
have good and bad.
Yeah,
so
if you have a softwood pallet, I wouldn't use a softwood pallet if I have a choice. But if you don't have a choice, then you guess you just use what you have. But if you could use the hardwood pallet, it's gonna last you a long time, because that's oak, and that's a furniture grade wood that they used to make it. What they do, they go to, if you overseas, most of those pallets come from overseas. And what they do, they go to the lumber yard, and when they slice the wood, those are the ends of it. Those are the ones they used to make the pallets, those pieces, the scrap wood. And those are oak wood, very strong.
Right. So you get some good. I have seen some very, very good pallets also. But when you use those pallets, though, I would recommend that you treat the wood because the chichi take them up very quickly.
Yeah.
You know, some farmers you can just paint it with black oil, or you have those chemicals that you can paint the wood with to stop the chichi, or for
Yeah. And one of the big mistakes, Mr. Bernard, when somebody use round wood,
can DM me for that.
when somebody
Go
use
ahead.
round wood, one of the big mistake I see people make when they use round wood is to leave the skin on it. If you're gonna use cut wood that you cut from in the hills, you must take the skin off, because what it does trap the moisture under, and you're gonna get
Right,
chichi that's gonna eat it all out.
right,
So you
that
really
is
need
true.
to skin
Skin it
the
off,
skin
right.
off it.
What is the cost of plastic for that? You can contact me. And
Jimmy Don Demar. Good night, blessings. Yeah. Jay.
I save because I got free zinc, but that's about the price range that the house will run, unless when it becomes
It become
creative,
creative.
you can ask for damage 2x4. Yes, there are so many different things you have to just, and some people cut trees in their property and get a salmon, cut it up and use it to build their goat house. We all have done that over the thing. Yes, Boer goats can be raised on the ground. My Boer goats are on the ground
Sure.
most of the time,
They love that.
they love it. Yeah. Yeah.
All right, that's it.
That's it. So, I mean, it is now 7 minutes after 9. We've been here for 2 hours. Mr. Miller, does it feel like 2 hours? Because I
No,
enjoyed,
sir.
yeah,
It
I
doesn't feel that
really
way.
enjoyed, the session here tonight. I enjoyed, the wealth of knowledge that both of us were able to impart. And, Mr. Miller, you want any closing remarks?
No, sir. As I said, as we go along with, let's work together to make this industry bigger and better as we move
Yes.
forward. Take it to the
So,
next level.
yes, I want to thank the farmers and thank all the people who have joined in. I really am here happy to serve you and to help you as much as we can. We are always we were there training and teaching people and helping people along. The association and we really enjoy. I enjoy helping people and thanks to all my farmers abroad from Africa and USA and Nigeria, everywhere. I mean, there's so much new people that keep coming on, and we are at what 81, 82 farmers here now.
We have 2 more questions.
And there are 2 more questions, and then I'm going to say goodbye because I am tired. My voice is tired. What's the question?
I recently set 2 bucks born for same Nubian mother. One had horns, the other born without. Are there any downsides to the natural pool?
No downsides. A lot of people love natural pole animals because of the fighting. Some people actually breed and want just natural pole animals. So there's no downside. The last question.
Is it possible for me to overfeed my goats?
Goats usually eat what they want and then walk away. But yes, it's possible because sometimes the goats become over-conditioned. But goats that you let out and they are foraging outside there, they are usually not overfed. Mr. Miller?
Yeah, well, for Boer goats, they never stop eating. So you
Yeah,
definitely can
yeah.
give them too much feed. They're just always eating.
Eating.
So you really don't want to overfeed them. They're gonna get
Overfeed.
too fat. You're gonna run them
Yes.
in. You're gonna run into problems because they're
No,
not
yeah,
like the
they
rest of
won't breed.
goats.
The ram will become
Yeah,
lazy, and the females
yeah,
won't,
yeah.
breed, and all of that can happen.
Yeah.
All right.
Mm.
So we are going to cut this off now. Thanks, everyone, and hope you enjoy
Have
the
a good
rest of your
night.
weekend. All right. Bye-bye.
I understand some people get freezing.
Good night, everyone.